Welcome back to another episode of Biblio Files, a show from the Ann Arbor District Library in Michigan that's all about books. Each episode, we focus on one book-related theme, and this time we're looking at books that have a one-word title. I'm joined today by Amanda and Lucy, and we have a special guest, Erin, and my name is Christopher. So, Lucy, would you like to tell us what you read for this episode?
Sure. So I actually picked a graphic novel. It's called Spinning by Tillie Walden, and it's actually a graphic memoir. And it is both a coming of age story and a coming out story. So Tillie Walden started skating when she was really, really young, like intense ice skating, like going every morning and, competing. And she was good at it, really good at it. And it was kind of an escape for her from kids that were bullying her at school. And then her family moved. She was living in New Jersey, and then her family moved to Austin. So she kind of had to get a whole new skating group. And she was starting at a new school, and she was bullied again in her new school. And so the skating again is an escape, but she's kind of in this weird world because she has a group of friends from school. And there's this group of girls from skating that's very close knit, and Tillie's always sort of on the edges. And that group is a little bit like homophobic in their talk. And at the same time that all this is going on, Tillie is realizing that she's falling in love with her friend Ray, who is also a girl. And she's got all these, it's like starting to come out, but also kind of questioning whether the skating world is one that she really belongs in. She was sort of pushed into it, and her parents never come to her competitions, but she still gets up at 4 a.m. and she does all the levels and the different competitions. She's never really examined, what it means to her, but she starts to realize that skating is a lifestyle as well as a sport. And so she's wondering if that's a lifestyle she wants. And she feels like she is kind of stuck. She doesn't really have a lot of agency. And can she get out of it? She's been doing it for 10 years. And so the book is really about like how, when you're young and you're kind of powerless, like how can you gain that agency? And also like, how do you navigate friendship and love and your family through all of this? So she realizes throughout this too, that she's really good at drawing, and that becomes a new place for her to go to escape and to help her see that she has other talents besides skating. And Tillie Walden has written like 6 graphic novels. This one, I think, won the Eisner Award when she was 22. So she's young, and she's just like really great at drawing and writing these books. And one thing that I thought was really interesting, and she and Ray fall in love, and that's really nice too. So you have this like sort of new teenage love story. But I was reading an NPR interview with Tillie Walden, and they said, what would it have been like for the self you depicted in Spinning to read a book like Spinning? And her answer was, it would have changed my life. If I'd read something like that at 13, I would have quit skating, cut my hair, grabbed the hand of the girl I liked. Really, I was always on the cusp of being myself. I have quite a spirit in me. I was so close. I just needed one nudge, one person, one book to say, it's okay. You can stop being an ice skater. You can be a lesbian, and you're going to be okay. And I just really liked that, because I think that this book is such a good example of how important representation is for people in reading books. And she's a great, the pictures are great. It's just a quick read, but it doesn't have a lot of colors, but it's still very mesmerizing in the way that it looks. So that is Spinning by Tillie Walden. Erin, what did you pick?
So my pick was Ohio by Stephen Markley, which is a debut book, which I'm always fascinated by debuts, just because, you think about how often, and how long that author might have written it. And, it's always a big deal when one comes out. I listened to the book, which definitely sometimes changes your experience. And in this case, This is a very rare situation where I actually started listening to it and despised it in the first section. And I was waiting for it to end, and I wasn't sure, what the way that Ohio is told, of course, anytime you call something like an entire state, there's a lot of people that are reacting to the book in terms of, trying to summarize the entire Midwest and small towns. But it's essentially about a group of friends in the 90s who sort of purposefully and not so purposefully coalesce on their hometown, and starts, an explosive series of events. It is one of those books that's told from the point of view of different characters as you go, which was why it was a very intense, sometimes unpleasant experience for me in the beginning, because the very first character is a very, he's on drugs, he's very intense, he's got lots of feelings, and he's really aggressive. And when you listen to a book, a lot of times that kind of becomes more of an issue than if you're just reading it in your head, because you're actually hearing their voice. So I wasn't sure what to expect. And then as we moved through the characters, I just got pulled into, there is definitely a mystery, which, it's not a mystery book, but it definitely has a page turner aspect to it. And you start to learn about this one female, Lisa, who is sort of the mystery of it. There's people that have been trying to figure out where she went, what she's up to, and what happened to her. It becomes sort of central to what all of them are looking at. One of the characters had a really bad boyfriend in high school, and there's a lot of rumors about stuff that went on one night while she was drinking with a lot of guys. And so there's some heavy topics, as far as that's concerned, but you start to find out about these different friends. Lisa is definitely one of those people in high school who was friends with like everyone from every clique, those ones that you sort of hear about. Oh, Lisa's friends with that person. Well, that must mean that they're kind of interesting, or they have things to offer. So as you go, one of the friends that she had who you hear from is somebody who was a big reader, and they used to be real nerdy together, and then later went on into the military. There are definitely, for people who grew up in small towns, they might have a strong reaction to this book because, it may seem to paint that all small towns are like this, which they are not. The way I looked at it and read it was, this is a particular small town. And we know that there are towns that, because the town itself is sort of a character. So as you go, you just continue to find pieces, a little bit by little bit, that bring all of the characters together. And it's very much a powder keg ending, one of those ones that I didn't see any of it coming. And there were lots of really great surprises. And it also deals with, poverty and lack of education and all of those different things that, come in places where there's not lots of resources, and where people are, competing with each other and wishing they could get out, and, worrying about, what kind of person they are, and all of those different things. So it was definitely, I read it for my book group. It was an excellent discussion book. Even those that, had negative feelings about it had lots of things to talk about. So Ohio by Stephen Markley is definitely, it's a long one. It's definitely a bit of a commitment, but it's definitely one that you're going to have a strong reaction to and have lots to talk about. So I recommend it. And so Amanda, how about you? What did you pick this month?
So the book that I chose is a book called Landline by Rainbow Rowell. And I love Rainbow Rowell's writing. I first read Eleanor and Park and fell in love with it. And then I just grabbed a bunch of her other books to read. So this is Landline. It was published in 2014. And it centers on a woman named Georgie who is in her mid-30s. And she is married with children. She is a TV writer, so she's very busy. And they live in LA. And it is nearing Christmas time. And the plan is to go to her husband's family for Christmas. And something comes up for work, as it always does. And her husband takes the kids to go to his family without her. And her and her husband, Neil, they're not getting along super great. They have some communication issues. They are definitely at this point in their marriage where they need to have further discussions and to kind of make things better than what they are currently for themselves and for their family. They have a couple of kids. So Neil goes off to visit his family for Christmas. So Georgie is home alone and she's working with one of her good friends. They're writing television writing. There's really good humor. The author writes these really great, believable, funny characters that you just fall in love with and want to hang out with. So for the holidays, Georgie ends up going to her own mother's house and she's home alone. So she goes to her mother's house and she calls her husband to check in with him. They have a conversation over the landline telephone. And then the next day she calls him again. And then she realizes that she is not talking to her husband, who is the age he is today. She's not talking to a husband or a father. She's talking to Neil as he was at the age of 22, before they started seriously dating, before they were married or anything. So Georgie has this unique opportunity to sort of mend their marriage before any relationship ever began, which I just think is a really neat premise. And there's the book, I mean, the landline is used several times in the story, and it does go back in time, and you do get the past history of their relationship and them coming together. But it's not, I wouldn't categorize it as sci-fi at all. It's just like the plot device that helps tell the story, which I thought was really interesting. I really like Georgie as a character. I love a good, like, flawed, well-written female character who is just going through something and you're rooting for her. So since she is having some issues with her marriage, it's not a love story. I wouldn't call it a love story either, but there's definitely some, you can kind of relate to things she's talking about in her relationship, or being busy with her work or busy with her family or trying to do the right thing over the holidays. So I just really, really enjoyed the story. And again, the author, Rainbow Rowell, she writes really just, it's clever, it's funny. The writing isn't flowery and perfect. It's just wonderful to read. I just really, really enjoy her writing. This is, so the author writes adult novels, teen novels. She's got graphic novels and comics. She's got kid novels. But this is one of her first few of the adult novels, and I recommend it. I really had a good time with it. So that is Landline by Rainbow Rowell. Christopher, what one-word titled book did you bring to share today?
Well, I just have to say I didn't know what to expect from this episode, but we have such varied and interesting books yet again. I know they say that every single time that I host, but what a delicious selection of books. I just finished this book from 2017. It's called Sycamore by Bryn Chancellor. And I discovered this author and this book really from a random search. I was looking for something else and stumbled on this, and I'm so happy that I did. This is partly a drama, mystery, thriller, and to me, personally, it has overtones of Twin Peaks without anything supernatural happening. It's really about a missing girl in high school, Jess, and it's told with two different timelines. Jess is narrating the chapters from 1991, and all the other characters in town are narrating the chapters from 2009. So it opens with Jess, and she loves to take walks at night. And then a few chapters later, a newcomer to the town finds some bones, and we all wonder if those belong to Jess or not. We do find out that Jess is missing, and she has been missing for all of these years, and then these bones are found. The author has portrayed all these different characters in town with such rich, rich voices. They really jump off the page. And the whole book is really quite cinematic and interesting. I think as an author, Bryn Chancellor must have been very, very brave to write this main character, Jess, knowing that she dies at the end of the book, or she something bad happens to her, because right from the very beginning you feel that this a high school girl has so much going for her. She has so many thoughts and so many ideas and so much life, and you know what's happening to her at some point. So it's an interesting book to both write, I imagine, and certainly to read. And it's kind of sad, of course. But I don't want to dissuade anyone from picking it up and going through all of these interconnected lives in this small town in Arizona. It really was a wonderful book. And I think that's it for Sycamore. Does anyone else have any last comments for us? All right. Well, we will be back next week with another episode of Bibliophiles. Until then, happy reading. Oh, and thank you, Erin, for being a guest on our show this time.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
You bet.